welcome everyone here tonight, especially our guest for the evening. I just said to them that Fox is fair and balanced, and this is unscripted and unrehearsed. But with all the players that we have here tonight, I can assure you it's going to be entertaining and informative. And so with that, I'd like to begin to introduce our guest. Going from right to left is Nick Panichelli. Nick is born and raised in Hammonton, and I think maybe you got to Lyman and did some business over there. Next is Bill Lista. Well, of course, Bill had a medical lab in Hammonton for his life. Everybody remembers his mother, Frances. That's right. And then I'll go back to Chick, and everybody will remember his father, Frank, right? That's it. And so we have many generations of Hammonton here tonight. And then next is to Jim Rodio. It gives a little bit of Rosedale flavor to it. And of course, Jim started out as a one-man radio station, ended up with the largest and best in South Jersey. So tonight's program is... And his rates were reflected in that. And so anyway, I guess we're going to have a problem with Chick tonight. Anyway, tonight our guests are here for a many-faceted program. One is, I've had many conversations with Bill, for example, just growing up in downtown Hammonton, where practically Jim was growing up in rural Rosedale. But I think it's something that really should be memorialized, because there's some things that will never happen again. And secondly was the history of the St. Joseph school system. Thirdly, the beginning of the St. Joseph basketball program. And fourth and finally, we'll save the best for last, is the spectacular 1949 basketball season. So, with that, I will introduce the captain of the basketball team. Bill Ordille. Everybody knows Bill. He's been, as I moved about one time, a Hammonton treasure as far as service to the community. And, so, Bill, take it away.
Thank you. Would everybody from Rosedale leave, please? I ain't leaving. You don't know. Well, I'm up here and I don't know what I'm doing, so I just stick with me. This all started about 2 years ago, I think, wasn't it? Bill was talking to somebody, and as I usually do, I put my nose in, and we were talking basketball. I don't know if this is the way it went exactly, but so I heard that, and then I tuned in. I said, "You haven't seen anything in basketball like we were involved in." And he got interested in it, and he kept calling me and calling me. I couldn't get away from it. So finally, put together one hell of a story in the Hammonton News. It was in 3 different leagues. A lot of people who read it saved it, because not because of us. I mean, see, these guys are really old, but I'm still young. And anyhow, later on, after he did the story, he started talking about movie. And I said, okay. I said, okay. And I knew it was, that's pretty hard to do. But anyway, he wants us, I think, to talk about our growing up, what our families did, who the big, the people are that did a lot for the community. And so I'll wing it here by saying that, first of all, I want to thank you for letting us all be in here tonight. So anyway, we going to talking about Hammonton and the way we lived in 1940 in that area is I'd like to see a movie about it. I really would. I'm a Hammontonian, Michael. He's not Nick, but
I was from Rosedale.
That started the problem. But I got together, get my mind together really for a while.
I've been trying to do that for years.
I know. I gotta find it. But what I want to do is, first of all, talk about myself a little bit. And all these other guys went through the same thing, is that I'm very, what did I write down here? I'm very happy that I was in the area of Hammonton with the people that were important to us. I'm going to mention a few names here. Father Martorelli, Sister Mary, Sister Mother Superior, and Al Mulliner. I mean, they were all fantastic people, tough people, but they had you in mind, and that's all of us kids. And so, Al Mulliner, I'll start with him a little bit. I got to know Al when I was about 10 years old, about 9 years old. It was a basketball. He started a basketball tournament. And then from there, I used to bug him and give me a job. Now I was 11 years old. Finally, he gave me the job. And but he couldn't pay me because I was under, I was over, what do they call it?
Underage.
Underage, yeah. So, I worked, I got out of school at 3 o'clock, went right to the store, went home for dinner, and went back to the store until anywhere from 10 to 1 in the morning. So that's why I'm stupid today. I couldn't believe I was doing school. So, but Al is, as he was working, as we were working, he was always teaching. And he has done so many things that I like to mention some of them, but he has done so many things for so many children in this town that it's unbelievable. I don't know if any of you are aware, know Al or knew Al, but he had everything that he did it for somebody else. And a couple of the things that I can say, I worked in, incidentally, when I got the job, it was $2 a week. So I gave my mother $1. So but I got, I think 14 popcorns or something, I don't know. But Al took everybody that he was working with. The kids would go in his store and steal. He would sit him down on the curb and talk to him until those kids came out very well. In fact, I had Joe Marone, I don't know if you know him, he told me this, that he's one of the culprits that, once in a while had a sly hand. And he couldn't stop him from doing it, so what he did is when Joe went home, they walked. Al walked behind him until he got to the house to tell his brother to straighten his other brother out. So that's the things he he would do. In sports, he never wanted to lose, but he always wanted to be fair. So Al, he's always giving, even when he was when he was sick and was in the hospital, he would call me up and say, go to this farm and get 2 baskets of peaches. I want to give it to the people who work here. And I went there, the peaches were there, or whatever it was, And then finally, I think Joe Rodio had a sale one time in the shopping center, and it didn't go over too good. And Al wanted to help these people again. So I asked Joe if we're not going to use it to bring it to Al. Well, he was unbelievably happy because he got all these people. There was a lot of food there. So, but Al had the thing about children and about how they should live and how they work, and he put it into play, you know. So Al and these guys will be telling you more about it because there's a lot more probably.
Sophia keeps quiet.
What's that?
Nothing.
Oh. Anyway, that's the thing. The thing I wanted to say when I started was the three people that were really big in my life, that not including my mother and father. But the three people in my life, you know, is what got me through a lot of things. And there's something else I skipped, but anyhow, we have to.
I think just a reflection. I thought one of the things that was so interesting you're talking about growing, being born during the Depression, and the frugality that your family had, which was shared by most people. The trip to Lynn Brothers, if you want to share that.
Oh yeah, I will. But that's of course personal stuff that I'd like everybody to have. But so when I was growing up, and I'm sure a lot of you guys too, nobody really had anything. But 2nd Street for 3 blocks had, I counted them again last night, 44 kids in those 3 blocks. And the 2nd Street was where all the kids wanted to go. But 3rd Street wanted to come to our place, but no, we said we'll play you in baseball and all that stuff, but this is 2nd Street. So, and the having nothing to live on. I mean, not much to live on. We always had food as far as that goes. But anything that happened in the neighborhood, somebody had a sore toe. My mother would be out there with the soup. You know, everything. Everybody on that block, and probably in all of Hammonton, because Hammonton people are that way. But what'd you say?
So they put their toe in a soup.
This is one of the reasons I failed.
Okay, let me go now.
Go ahead, Bill.
All right. I was born and raised on Walnut Street.
Okay, that's enough.
Literally, I was born on Walnut Street. Dr. Esposito delivered me there. And one of my neighbors was Kazi Ricca. You remember Kazi Ricca?
Yes.
Yeah, I grew up with him. And my mother ruled the roost. And there was no such thing as going to camp in the summer. Started off with strawberries, worked my way to peaches. Nothing and everything in between. And I can remember we got our eggs at Grace Lucas' father. We always bought our eggs there. And as I grew, you know, I graduated. I went from farming to Miller's department store. And that was quite an experience. That was about the time I got into high school. And I participated in some of the sports. I wasn't as good as these fellas here, but I was always like the 6th man on the team.
Sick.
Six man.
What's his
And
name?
I went to school with Marie Luca. She was in our class, one of your members there. And I'll tell you, we weren't rich, but I never wanted for anything. There was plenty of food on the table. My father was a tailor, and he made all my clothes. And I remember one thing, he made me suits. And all the other fellas didn't have suits. They had a sports coat and a slack, so I didn't want a suit. You know, here I had homemade kind of tailor-made suit. But that's.
Wish I had known that, I had to go to your house. We used to go to, my mother used to take me to Litton Brothers and get one suit or shirt and pants a year. And you go home, even what my mother tells me, we only had one wet shirt. He said, so be careful. Well, yeah, that's like telling me. So anyway, and not only that, we used to go to lunch, you know, and after that, take the bus home, and the pants that I had, it was one pair of pants, and my mother said, please, don't ruin this because you have a whole year to go with this. But working in Newberry's, and, you know, never going home after school, about 3 months, it was all raggedy. And she tried to fix it up. She said, you know what? I had that pair of pants all year. And another thing that used to get me, my mother used to bring everybody. Your mother used to bring, give you your lunch to take to school. And my mother used to do that too. But my mother used to use newspapers to wrap it up. And which was a little odd. But so what I did was I loved peppers, so we used to get peppers. Loved peppers, and when I ate them, I'd sit down and take off my shoes because there's the holes in my shoe, and I had to put the papers to stop from getting wet. And when it rains,
You're in worse shape than I thought you were. I got me crying here.
Anyway, before he interrupted me, Sister Mary DiCarlo, Mother Superior, was very influential in my life, and Al Mulliner also. They molded my life as a high school student, and I never forgave them for it. And that's about it.
Chick, you're wanting the floor, I can tell.
Oh, no, I just listened to everything you're saying. First up there, maybe some of these people here in the audience never even heard about Newberry's. You know, at one time, on this main street of Hammonton, there was Newberry's, there was Miller's Department Store, there was Preston, there were 3 bakeries, 2 movies, 3 shoe stores, an Acme and an A&B, all on Bellevue Avenue. That's where we were growing up. So Hammonton then was a tremendous community to be born and raised in, and Hammonton today is still a tremendous community to live in. And I don't misunderstand how I say this. In business, I've been rather successful, and I can only. My success has only been given to me by the people of Hammonton. Regardless of what my endeavor was, they always supported me. And for that, I'll ever be grateful to the town of Hammonton. And I, like them, we all went to St. Joe's, and we started from kindergarten up. I mean, we used to buy a tin pan of soup, as I recall, for 10 cents or 5 cents. That was our lunch, and then we'd have a little thing of milk. But they were those days. But we didn't want for anything, and it was great, the camaraderie with all of us. And of course, we had a large class. What do we have, 19? In our graduating class, right, Marie? We were a big class.
Some of us are here.
Yeah, that's right. Someone asked me one day, they said, Chick, when did you go to St. Joe? I said, I went to St. Joe before they even invented the rosary. That's how far back we went. We all grew up, thank God, and like Lista just said, the nuns, they were great. They pointed us down the right path. And another thing we all had the distinction of, everyone here, and I think even Joe Rodio, whenever we had a study hall in high school, our study hall then, in the last 2 years, was unloading the bricks from the trailer when they were building the new St. Joe's High School back then, along with the gym. So our study halls, we go outside and we unload the bricks, the mud on those things, picking up the 10 bricks on that iron thing. It was heavy, but that was it. So we loved it. We all had a great time. We all played sports. We had a heck of a time. We're still having a good time. And Ordille's still the same way. He was the captain only because he gave us all $1 to vote for him. That's why he was the captain. That's the only reason. But anyway, we're still here. We're still competitive. We still get together. And it's great for you people inviting us here. But you know, a lot of you folks, if you're not born and raised in Hammonton, at one time the business community was a flourishing community on Bellevue Avenue. Absolutely. In fact, my father had a shoe store on Bellevue Avenue. I was privileged because when I got out of school, I didn't have to go running here or there, or in the summertime worry about a part-time job. I was in the shoe store. So consequently, I was born and raised in the retail business, and for that I'm ever grateful to my parents. The other thing about Hammonton, I lost my mother when I was a freshman in high school. And it was very, let's face it, as a freshman in high school, my mother passed away. It was very traumatic. If it was not for the guys that surrounded me and the gals that surrounded me in high school and the nuns, I had a pretty difficult time of it. You know, I was just a kid then. I was 14 years old when my mother died. So it was great, you know, they just supported everything and everybody, and here we are today, sitting in front of you people. Hopefully we're not making jackasses. So bad. That's right. Right now we qualify for dumb jackasses. Yes, sir.
One thing, did you have holes in your shoes?
Yes,
Like
sir.
Bully?
Yes, sir.
You had holes in your shoes?
Yes, sir.
What the hell kind of father did you have?
Well, that was, you know,
So your shoes? Oh, you just wanted to be in style.
I wanted to be inside. That was Vogue in those days.
Oh, okay.
That was Vogue. When you put your foot on a chair, make sure that.
Oh, okay.
But when we used to go out and play basketball, they all knew that here come the little Italians from Hammonton. Everybody was ready to get for 6 foot. Here come the big guys. Oh my Lord. One other story, I shut up. Jim Rodio had the distinction in one game we were playing Tuckerton High School. Way back then, you played Tuckerton basketball. This was not baseball. And you walk down the steps, and there's the gym down here. And all the bleachers are here. Well, Jim was playing. He started the game. He scored 19 points in the first half. And they benched him in the second half because he was too good.
Well, that's because the guy who scored points against me was about 6'9". Anyway, I'll just say a few words. I was here before, and you heard my story. I'm very appreciative to Hammonton because I got a chance to start. The first radio station was here in town. It was tough going. You know, Hammonton wasn't a big town in those days, but we got by. We got a lot of support from people like Bill Parkhurst out of the farm center he had there. I just want to say we all did graduate together, and I'm glad that Bill Lista mentioned Marie Lucas' name because she was a classmate of mine. Now, I'm the oldest guy here. I was born on the 6th of December, 1931, and Billy Ordille was born on the 7th of December, 1931. One day, and I never let him forget who was the older guy. And every year I try to call him on the phone and wish him happy birthday because on the 7th of December, you know, is Pearl Harbor Day. And that's the day that President Roosevelt made his famous speech. He said, "A day that will live in infamy." So I kind of remind Bill of it. Your birthday today, a day that will live in infamy. But it was a pleasure being with these guys. I had to fight my way in. I was the kid wasn't a kid from Hammonton. I was from Rosedale. You needed a passport to come across there where Christopher's garage was.
You weren't Sicilian.
I wasn't Sicilian. They put all the Neapolitans down there. But we had a great little baseball team down in Rosedale. We had a lot of terrific families. And anybody that came through Rosedale, they knew they could stop at any one of those houses and they'd get a nice free meal. And there were the good old days at my father's store. It was kind of the center of town. Well, you tell me that you got all that food, you were getting the pepper sandwich. So we figured you were pretty well filled up. But thank you for having us over here tonight. I bet maybe Nick Panichelli was saying.
I just want one thing. Billy said everybody brought their lunch to school. Well, Chick didn't, he had Josephine Kateri.
That was 10 o'clock in the morning.
By the way, I'd like to congratulate the Historical Society, because I think you're doing a great thing for Hammonton. I do a lot of research on Hammonton. Every day when we go walking down the cemetery, I like to go to the old Greenmount Cemetery and see those early settlers and those stones that are there and where they came. I was asking Bill tonight, I said, do we have a history of when the first people trickled in here from Maine, and how did they find Hammonton in those days? That was really, you know, but he said the real estate people got them interested, like you see on television, these ads, buy, you know, you can buy a plot of ground out in Arizona, it's, you know, Persian property, and it's going to be a great area someday. But evidently, they sold them on the idea that this was a great farm community, and
The health too.
and the health was another one.
The pine one.
Very interesting.
Yeah, Carol, we haven't heard from you.
Well, born in Hammonton, my mom was born right next to Parker, the Danucci's.
Okay.
And had part-time jobs when I was young, worked at Newberry's, delivered papers up and down Bellevue Avenue, I knew every house. And it was great growing up in that era. I don't think we'll ever see that again. That's it.
You know, one thing I like to say, Bill, when we were in high school, and we were all growing up together, we all went to St. Joe. And there was St. Joe and there was Hammonton, but there were no divisions. When we went to a basketball game, most of the time we played, a lot of times if it was a tournament, we played first, Hammonton second. When we played, they were there cheering for us. When they played, we were there cheering for them. There was no breakaway points. And after every game, there was a place in Hammonton they called the Sweet Shop. We'd all go to the Sweet Shop. Doesn't matter what school we were from, we'd all go there, and they had records in the back, and we'd dance and drink Coke and eat cookies. But it isn't, you know, that's the way it was back then. Everybody was together. It was just fantastic.
I can tell you one story that I think you'll find interesting. You all remember Charlie Sipley? Mr. Sipley? And Bill Capella? Well, when St. Joe started their basketball team around 1945, wasn't it? 46, we were
45.
Yeah, but we were playing a game there one day. I think we were playing Hammonton's JV to get started. And there was a couple of kids in the, you know, they were really insulting us and everything, and mimicking us and everything. And Charlie Sipley stopped the game. I'll never forget that. He went out to the center of the court. He said, look, root for your team all you want. But he said, you never see this stuff happen anymore. He says, let's give these boys a break. They're trying to get started. He says, and you know, I never forgot that. What it took for him to go out there. He said, look, root for your team. We're not telling you not, and you know, but give these guys a break. He said, don't be insulting to them. And,
That's a good lead into the inaugural program in 44.
Yeah, one other thing though,
What did he say about Sibley?
Mr. Gibb,
Sibley.
Al Mulliner used to call him to help him coach his team, and he would come. And it's like Bill Capella. I would talk to him. They would come in. Everybody. It's like a big family. But I want to tell a couple of stories about Newberry's. Newberry's, where I worked, Al's friends, almost maybe three days a week, they'd all congregate into the store after it's closed. And all they would do is talk sports and whatever. And there's one guy, there's a fountain in there. Every time he came in there, he used to eat this big thing of ice cream. And you know, Al, after Al had been saying it for a while, and Al said, after the guy finished, he says, do you need any ice cream? And of course, everybody, you know, broke up. But these guys would talk sports, and I would be in there working, and they would, we had played a game like, because these guys went to the sweet shop, you know. I didn't go to the sweet shop, but I still had all the girls.
Somebody lost all his hair.
Yeah, that's right. We forgot to dunk them in.
Well, we can get that too many things. We want to get on that basketball team.
Yeah, I just want to say that they used to coach in the 5 and 10. They would take you aside and say, look, you're supposed to go this way, you're not supposed to go that way. And they would really, all these old guys, I mean, they were pretty old at least. I mean, they would do anything for you. And then we had this basket down cellar of the store, as a fire basket that you knocked the bottom out. Bucket, yeah. And 3 or 4 times a week, all the kids would come in, you know, and some of the older guys too. And we'd play this game. Now this game had the bottom of it was rough, and if you got caught your hand on the thing, you know, it was pretty tough. But you didn't dribble. You had to fight your way to that thing to get it in to get 2 points. So all these nights, we would all play that game. So Newberry's was like all home for us, you know. And Al, loved all that stuff. But there's a lot of other stuff that we can talk about, but I think it's past yours. I guess this is the main thing we came here, or at least one of the main things, is the year, what that doing.
Nothing here, Bill. By the way, Billy's got some nice memorabilia here, if you'd like to look it over. Can I invite him to do that, Bill, later on? Some of your memorabilia there?
You guys
Yeah,
know
sure.
that there were 4 restaurants on Belleville Avenue between the railroad track and 3rd Street. 4 restaurants. Christos Restaurant was on the corner of the Egg Harbor Road in Bellevue. And then what was the
City McCree's.
City McCree's place in Central Avenue.
Joe Romeo's.
Joe Romeo's down here. And then down the other end, that's when Gurrier moved in with his sub shop.
You had the wagon, they used to call it, across the railroad
Oh,
track.
yeah. Everybody went to
Bryce Steiner.
It was the Happening Street. Yeah, it was great. Go ahead, Bill, I'll keep quiet. Oh, keep quiet.
Anyway, what we came in here really for tonight was the 1949 basketball, that's St. Joe basketball team. There's a little history of that. We started the sports, I think it was at 45.
45 we started.
45. And the first year we played some, you know, almost kid teams, JVs. And then when we were freshmen, then Al used to get teams, you know, within the area, and we'd play them. And I mean, we were terrible. I mean, we were terrible. The uniforms looked terrible. We'd go out on the road, on the court, and I could just see the other people saying, well, these raggedy guys. I said, you know, it was easy. And they were right. It wasn't easy. Hand-me-downs and whatever. The shirts were inside out sometimes when the guys fell out and you couldn't use that number, so you had to turn the shirt around. I mean, it was...
They always did that to me because I had too many fouls. So they changed my jersey, put it inside out so I can keep playing. And Marie Lucas' brother was the one that would do that.
God rest his soul.
God rest his soul. He was the scorekeeper. Every time I had too many fouls, they would go to work. Check your jersey.
This would be called Good Catholic Boys.
That was recorded for posterity.
But anyway, that's about all I'm getting out here.
Just right.
But no, I like you guys to get in because, you know, my memory isn't so hot, so.
It wasn't that deep.
Well, really what it was, we were picked when we went in 1949. We had a pretty good team in 48. Remember the late San Antonio was on that team, Richard
I just
Dupont?
want to, just to interrupt 1 second. Before you get to 49, I think that's in 47 was the first Hammonton High St. Joe.
That's correct.
game.
That's correct.
So you want to describe that game?
Well, Hammonton as I recall, Hammonton had a great team. Buddy Benedetto was on that team, and I'm trying to think
Sonny
of somebody.
Salco, Billy Hunter,
Yeah, a lot of those guys were on that team. And
Abbott, Buddy
we were
Abbott.
picked to lose that game by quite a few points. And, you know, as it happens in sports, you get overconfident, you figure out these guys are coming in. And we went there, and we lost that game. I think the score was 42-41. The late Joe Farrell lost his glasses, and without glasses, he was blind. He took 3 pup shots underneath, but the guy that beat us that night was Buddy Benedetto. He hit one from 3/4 court, but at that time we thought that was the arena down there. I realized 3/4 court is not that far. That's as small as St. Joe bought that. I measured it out, you know. But he hit a basket on 3/4, and they beat us by 1 point. And the place was about half full. The next game we played them, they barred the doors at 7 o'clock, and the people at Hammonton they were all out to watch. And since then, there's been one heck of a rivalry between the two schools.
So take that to, say, to 49 to the Hammonton High St. Joe game. Who remembers that?
Yeah.
Jack?
We beat him that year.
That's the first time.
That was the, no, yeah, that's right.
Tom, we beat them.
49, we played on the first game, we beat Hammonton High.
And they had a
And that was quite an
championship.
accomplishment for us. They had a great ball team, but
That team following year with Boogie Morley and those guys.
we had a little more drive, I guess.
So
We
we
had
had-
angels behind us. Yeah, they did too.
Speaking of angels, and I know Bill has told me that you guys would, it's like Dottie Carter used to take a field hockey team to a mass before games or church on Sundays.
Yes.
And that they used to go to mass in the mornings, and at times that Al Mulliner would, a good Methodist would join you.
Yeah.
He would always.
It took a good Methodist to
I'll
turn
tell you
that
a
school
true story
around.
about Al. He never cussed.
No,
Okay.
only during the games.
When we were on the bench, and things were going better, one of us made a mistake. I remember Father Mark was sitting next to Al Mulliner. He did this all the time. Well, Al was taking aim, he was banging his hand. Holy cripes, holy cripes. Al really wanted to scream and cuss from here to China when he had Father Mark next to me.
Father Mark in his broken Italian would say, "Hall, take it easy, Hall."
Take it easy.
Al treated St. Joe tremendously.
Grass.
And a lot of times, like you say, if we decided to go to Mass in the morning, he didn't tell us anything. He would just kind of slip in the back of the church, and he'd sit there. He was in his own way, but Al was a very holy man. And he was active in the, I know this for a fact, because when we walk on Sunday mornings, he was always at the services at the Methodist Church every Sunday until he couldn't get around anymore.
You might mention his generosity to St. Joe's.
It was
It
phenomenal.
worked for nothing.
Right.
He worked for nothing. But that was what like Bill said, everybody around town.
Yeah.
Al was always concerned about it, you know, and he made his mistakes, though, don't get me wrong. He wasn't perfect, none of us are. But, yeah, he did a lot for the youth. Well, they named the Little League field after him. They even put Billy's name up there. I don't know how I got up there.
I think we were all very happy that in our senior year, we were able to bring, I wouldn't say satisfaction for Al, but a lot of happiness because we won a lot of big games, and we really made him happy because he finally succeeded with these 6 or 8 broken down guys. That's all we had was 7 or 8 guys.
All white,
Yeah, that's right.
no, only one over 6 foot. Alpha.
And we went to Seton Hall University in 1949.
Guys, this is the climax.
Yeah, right here. And we lost that game by 4 points. Hal Farrell, he averaged about 20 points a game. He could not score that night. And we lost that game, and Al never forgot it. And we went to visit Al, and he was kind of on his way out. He was over here at Nova, and all the team went up there to see him, and he was still playing that game. I says, Al, I want to let you know a little secret. We won that game. We heard from North Jersey there was mistakes made. And I think he went to his deathbed and he really won that game. We had it for the state championship, but we just fell short. That happens in sports all the time. That's all I got to say tonight.
The only thing I wanted to add to that is we had a good team, we had a very good year, but when you go back in the history of it, how do I say this? We had no gym, we had no place to practice. Monday nights, we used to practice 11 o'clock in all the high schools and all were finished. So, and I mean, we really didn't have what all the other schools had. But one thing we had was we weren't going to be beaten, and that was it. And that's how these guys are successful today, because they carried it on. But you notice I said they.
You were successful.
But that whole year paid up for all the mess we went through for the first 4 years, because these schools took the, I mean, I just tell them, Bill, when we first started, every place we went, all we heard was, we want, we want 100, we want 100 points. And, you know, I thought it was a school song, you know, but that's how bad we were. But we held our own, and we finally hit it. And we, as Chick said, or Jim said, if we played it one more time, we would have won that game. So, but we had a heck of a life together. I mean, at school and whatever else we did. I mean, none of us like each other, but I mean, Chick likes me.
You know what?
We worked with you at Newberry, you forgot.
You worked with me in the Newberry's.
I was there.
One thing I think we failed to mention
Yeah,
that
you
we used to do all our practicing in Hammonton High Gym, the old Hammonton High Gym. We were allowed to practice there. Coach Capella and Coach simply allowed us to do that. And of course, we played our games there also. Because we didn't, when we started, the old church that used to be next to St. Joe, we used to play in there. But it was, you know, kind of narrow and small, but it was, they really, here again, that was part of how the community was together. There were no divisions, you know, hey, you guys don't have a place to practice, don't want you practice over here. And that was the way it was. So
There's
it
one
was,
thing those other teams didn't know, that when we got on the court, we had 6 men. And one of them is when we went to church, we had 6 men in there, and that's what we won all this stuff.
That's it. It's very good.
Thank you very much.
answer any questions.
Question back here.
Questions for Grace?
I guess it would be Jimmy or Chick. Explain the parochial league. Was that different than, I mean, I read somewhere where you guys played in the parochial?
That's correct. There was a public league and a parochial league back then.
Then how did you end up playing Hammonton?
Well, we not only played parochial teams, but there were 2 divisions in the standings. Like in the parochial league, there was Holy Spirit, St. Joe, Sacred Heart, Gloucester Catholic, and one other school.
St. James?
St. James. St. James in Pennsboro, New Jersey. That was the parochial league. But then we were in Atlantic County, so we played any team in Atlantic County that would play us, really. We were kind of we were a morale booster for most of the teams.
The truth of the matter is that they had 2 tournaments. They used to have a public tournament sponsored by the New Jersey Independent Athletic Association, but the Catholic schools had their own tournament also. And so we got into both those tournaments. That's the end of the year. But you played. If we only had to play Catholic schools, we probably wouldn't have had a full schedule. You know, we played. Egg Harbor High School had a great basketball team. We played that. Pleasantville. You know, it's not like it is today with all these big regional schools. You know, we were like one town in Atlantic County.
There's one thing, though. At least I said this. We had a game. We were playing Atlantic City Vocational School. Now here come the little Italians from Hammonton. Lista. No, Harold Farrell back then was the tallest guy on the team with us. That was it. And the real backbone of our team was Leo Luke, our scorekeeper. When we got there, we played in Convention Hall to begin with. We had never been, you know, what's Convention Hall? We walked in there just looking around like we were in Disneyland. And these guys came out there all 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". Oh my God. They were enormous. They hung in there. They only beat us by about 60 points.
I love it. The phone started ringing in early August to get us on the schedule. Now our football team can't get enough games. They don't want to play.
Anyway,
Thank you
Grace,
very
no
much.
matter what the leagues may come and go, St. Joe will always play Hammonton. We're already in different leagues.
That's been great.
It's been a great series.
Thank you for allowing us to be here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.